This is the opening of the new project. It's the diary of Joseph Dwight Strong, Jr., who was Robert Louis Stevenson's son-in-law. It's his diary from 1892 when he just arrived at Samoa with his wife. If you want to get a little bit more of it, it's at www.thetruthabouttreasureisland.com. There it was, the long curve of the Apia Harbor, a 2-mile arc of palms and small white cottages strewn across it like rough pearls on a broken necklace, and the mountains rising behind. There were clusters of brown native huts made of palm leaves, and here and there larger buildings put up by missionaries, the Mormon mission, and then further up with the best view, the Catholic college. The British and German consulates were larger houses with verandas. The bay was speckled with outriggers manned by the dark natives busy spearfishing. It was already mid-morning. The sun was high. Austin and I had stepped out of the cabin to get out of his mother's way. The steamer we were on had arrived sometime last night and had anchored while we slept. We'd been told by the captain to expect arrival today, so we had eaten in to finish the last of the packing, and now all that was left was just her getting ready. The boat would be coming out shortly to collect us and our trunks. I was apprehensive. Louis, that's Robert Louis Stevenson, hadn't answered my letter. I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't even know if they were coming to meet us. If need be, I was ready for us to remain on the boat and go back to Sydney. And all of this over how to use camera flash powder. He was such a fucking child. He had better not be condescending. Austin was pointing to the wreck of the Adler, the German warship that lay on its side, half submerged near the shore. My son was 10, a very smart kid. He had his mother's eyes. There was a hurricane that hit the island in '88, I think, I told him. There were a whole lot of ships in the bay because there was a war going on, and when the storm hit, they wrecked each other. Only one British ship got out to open sea. What happened to the sailors? A lot of them died. The natives they were fighting with actually came out to the beach in the storm and helped save some of them. Biapio's father had 2 of the coins. My friend Moores had mentioned it in a letter. They were wearing them as medals. The Germans had given out money, coins for heads saved. I could suddenly see her with her father, as if she were standing in front of me, looking up at me out of the corner of her big brown eyes, with that little smirk that said, "I know you want me." She was a dancer in the sitting dances they did here. Her name meant to bend or curve, and the smell of her. If it hadn't been for her, I would have refused to come. Belle joined us at the rail. "Any sign of them?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. "What a place to come, huh?" She beamed at me with happiness. This was a great adventure for her. Louis had won her over completely. She had traveled to Sydney from Hawaii and waited there for me to return from the island hopping I had done with the Stevenson and her younger brother Lloyd. I was supposed to go on a second trip, but I was exiled to wait with her until the houses were ready at Valima, the plantation they were building in Samoa. I was also sick as a dog. Our 7 months there turned out to be a blessing. We went on outings with Austin, we picnicked and sketched together like we were newlyweds, and we started making love again, not at all like it had been in Hawaii. She was still a gorgeous woman, gifted with curves and hair to bury yourself in, and a real gift for making things comfortable and pretty. Being with my son was great, though he was more of a poet and an actor than a painter. More up Lewis's alley, and Lloyd's as well. I hope they wouldn't indulge him too much here. "Anything left to do?" I asked. "Nothing," Belle said. "There they are," Austin yelped. The boat was soon pulling alongside. Louis and Lloyd and Fanny were waving to us. They were all brown and healthy. Lloyd, Belle's younger brother, was an angular, skinny guy with glasses who was given to acting like the stiff upper lip Englishman. He had developed muscles and looked like a beachcomber with the required frayed pants cuffs. Fanny, Louis's wife, was darker than I had ever seen her. She was as shapely and as energetic as my wife, even though she was in her 50s. She was 12 years older than Lewis, 9 years younger than his mother. Carving a plantation out of the jungle had served them well. We went down to the boarding platform. It was as if they were returning from the Great Crusades. Hugs from Fanny, and Lloyd shook my hand, which I took as a good sign, and then all the cooing over the boy that was then interrupted by Lewis. "Admiral, I say, Admiral," he hollered at Austin. "Permission to come aboard." He was stiff as a board, in attention with a stiff salute. He was a flesh-colored skeleton, with clothes always too baggy and held together by a tight belt, skinny face and lank hair, but with eyes that burned with his entire life force. Those eyes could devour you. He was tanned and far from death's door. "Permission granted," Austin said, and hugged him as soon as he stepped up. Bell was next in line. Everyone loved Lewis. He eyed me. "It's good to have you all here, finally. I think we're complete now. Mrs. Stevenson arrived a couple of weeks ago." He meant his mother. Everyone preceded us to the deck. He handed me my letter from his pants. "I honestly didn't know how to answer you. Let's pretend you didn't write it." The son of a bitch. I knew him. He wrote every letter as if he expected to be published in the collected letters of Robert Louis Stevenson one day. There would be no letter to Joe Strong asking him to come to Samoa. I understood now what he really thought of me. Belle came back down to us, obviously concerned. She had asked me not to lose my temper. Coming here meant too much to her. I slipped the letter away into my pocket. "I need you around, old man," he said. "You're just in time to tell all. I'm writing a history of the island's troubles, and you can fill me in on what happened when you were here before with the Hawaiian ambassador." "Right now?" I asked. "Heavens no, after lunch," he laughed. "We have all sorts of time. I'm just excited by the idea. There'll be plenty to do to make yourself useful." One of our trunks were being carried out of the cabin. "Excuse me, I need to supervise the luggage," I said, and ran up. I needed to make sure my life's work wasn't dumped into the sea. The paper and paints would take months to replace, and the finished watercolors in their paper tubes were originals, worth money in the galleries in San Francisco. The camera equipment would cost an arm and a leg to replace. Coming here was supposed to fix our money problems, not bankrupt us. I had lost a watercolor of Fiapio last time I was here. That one had hurt. There had been another that the crew of the Equator had soiled my cabin because someone had encouraged them to look at my stuff. Lewis and Lloyd had followed me up. "We're here to help," Lewis said. I looked at Lloyd. "I won't drop a thing," he said. He had dropped his camera into the harbor at the Maracay Islands. Didn't have much choice.